library building, retaining wall, and engineering sciences block. His achievements include secured first class with a distinction in both undergraduate and postgraduate degrees, received a Prime Minister Fellowship for 4 years during undergraduate degree, received a travel grant from Indian Institute of Technology Madras to attend conferences in Singapore, Jordan, and Malaysia in the month of June 2013, March 2015, and August 2015, respectively. He was awarded Institute Postdoctoral Fellowship by Indian Institute of Technology Madras for completing PhD thesis within a benchmark period of 4.5 years. The proposal titled as Fatigue Behavior of Concrete Panels Subjected to Biaxial Compressive Stresses had been selected by Science and Engineering Research Board DST SERB for National Postdoctoral Fellowship NPDF at Indian Institute of Science Bangalore. Award honorarium for writing full course material on waste management banks for the MPA course in waste management and social entrepreneurship offered by Mahatma Gandhi National Council of Rural Education MHOD. His works were published in several national and international journals. He had attended several national and international conferences. His contribution towards upliftment of research includes he published an article in the Hindu emphasizing research methodology and stages of PhD dissertation, Leondrash, 2017, Earning Your Doctorate, The Hindu Edge, 14th August 2017. Then published an article in the New Indian Express enlisting software useful for PhD thesis writing, Leondraj, in the year 2018. Here are a few softwares that will make writing a PhD thesis easier. The New Indian Express, edX Live, 24th April 2018. He served as a resource person in several invited talks and FDPs. He organized a one-day national workshop on recent developments in civil and earthquake engineering, RDCEE, uh, CSIR NEIST as organizing secretary. Moreover, 175 students and 24 faculty of Northeast region had participated and benefited. He served as a trainer of TechUp 3 sponsored workshop, training on SAP 2000, held at Jorhat Engineering College, Assam. 6 days training program were there. On behalf of the coordinators and participants, I welcome you, sir, for the session.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for the elaborate introduction about me. And I welcome and thank my teachers, Binamol ma'am and Prakash sir, who are listeners. And also, they are also participating in this lecture. So also I thank Department of Civil Engineering, LBS College of Engineering, Kasargod, for inviting me to deliver the talk on ductile detailing of reinforced concrete structures with a case study which we designed for Kerala State Electricity Board at Munnar. So my outline of this talk, introduction, material characteristics and building irregularities, detailing of beams and columns, special confining reinforcement, that is SCR, and case study. Introduction. Ductile detailing provision. The ductile detailing provision is given in IS 13920 for the members of reinforced concrete buildings such as beams, columns, then shear walls, members subjected to earthquake and gravity loading. These provisions are for the anchorage and splices of longitudinal reinforcement, spacing, anchorage and splices of lateral reinforcement, and joint of the member. It is often observed in past earthquake that the problems in structural detailing may also be a significant cause of damage. The discussions herein focus on the provision of ductile detailing provision for RC buildings and its possible reasons for providing structure, which will be helpful to understand the importance of the ductile detailing of earthquake resistant design of the structure. General specification: the design and the construction of reinforced concrete buildings shall be governed by the provision of IS 456/2000, except as modified by the provisions in this code. So we will follow always IS 456/2000, and some additional modifications were given in IS 13920 to ensure the ductile failure in buildings. To ensure ductile failure in buildings, we have to ensure ductile failure in member level itself, and that is assured by materials also. So therefore, minimum grade of concrete is fixed by IS 13920 for buildings and other structures. For buildings, M25 is the grade of concrete for buildings more than 15 meter in height in seismic zones 3, 4, and 5, and not less than that required by IS 456 based on exposure conditions. There are several types of exposure conditions, right? Medium, severe, very severe, moderate. So based on the exposure conditions, also we have to consider the minimum grade of concrete for the buildings. For this, I have published an YouTube video how to do mixed design for different grades from M10 to M100 is given in my YouTube channel. So this is more focused on detailing, so I'm not going into deep into the details of mixed design. And then possible explanations: the concrete strength below M20 may not have the requisite strength in bond or shear to take full advantage of the design provisions. The bending strength of the reinforced concrete member is relatively insensitive to concrete, compressive, tensile, and shear strength and durability, which are adversely affected by the weak concrete. So material characteristics and irregularities. So there are four stages, right? There are different terminologies: characteristic strength, concrete acceptance criteria, target mean strength. For example, if you have a M20 grade of concrete, your target mean strength is 26 MPa, that is FCK plus 1.65 into established standard deviation 4 MPa. So therefore your target strength is 26 MPa. But in field, it is not possible to achieve the target mean strength. So what is the code specified acceptance criteria? Actually, this is this table's acceptance criteria of concrete shall be based on table 11 actually. That is M15 and above, the acceptance criteria is FCK plus 0.825 into established standard deviation. That is, it will be for 20 MPa concrete, your acceptance criteria is 23.5 MPa or FCK plus 3. So we can take that as FCK plus 3, that is 23 MPa, FCK plus 0.825 into standard deviation 4, it will be around 23.5 MPa. You will get 23.5 MPa as the acceptance criteria. And also they are giving one more check that individual test results. It should not be less than FCK minus 3 MPa. That is, if it is 20 minus 3, 17 MPa is your acceptance criteria. You may have concrete. Concrete also plays an important role in the ductility behavior. So that's why I'm giving this one slide is exclusively for this in this presentation. Your characteristic strength is 20 MPa, concrete acceptance criteria is 23.5 MPa, target mean strength is 26 MPa. So what does it mean? What is the physical meaning actually? So if 100 cubes are tested, only 5 cubes can be less than characteristic strength, only 5 cubes. So if you test 50 cubes, 2.5 cubes. So if for conservative side, you can tell that as 2 cubes. can be less than 20 MPa. If you test 25 or 30 cubes, a code is telling that minimum you have to test 30 samples to ensure to get your standard deviation. So to test, so out of 30 samples, only one sample can be less than 20 MPa. But due to restriction and due to the restrictions of various parameters, we cannot go 30 samples, right? Samples means one sample means 3 specimens, so we cannot go for 30 samples. So what we will do, only one sample we will cast, that is that too 3 specimens. So based on that we have to decide. So in that 3 samples, none of the samples should be less than 20 MPa, and the mean value should be above 23.5 MPa. So that's what this code table 11 is giving. And also they are giving the one line you can see here, 4 non-overlapping consecutive test specimens or test results. So non-overlapping means today you are testing, today morning you are from one batch. That means one batch you are taking some samples, like one sample, and that sample contains 3 specimens. In another batch you are taking 2 samples, so it should not overlap. So that is called non-overlapping. And consecutive test result means today you are testing, tomorrow you are testing, day after tomorrow, so continuously you are testing. The timeline is the if y-axis is compressive strength and x-axis should be your time. So based on that, from this information you can take the 4 non-overlapping consecutive test results. So this is the acceptance criteria. So when you are planning for any ductile detailing, so this concrete, what is the concrete acceptance, you should know about the concrete acceptance. If it is not passing, you have to go for NDT test. So first what you have to do, rebound hammer test. Second, you have to go for core cutting test or ultrasonic pulse velocity test. So then steel reinforcement. So the main topic is here, coming here, that's ductile detailing. So before going deep into the concepts of ductile detailing, we should know about the material characteristics. So reinforcement, the minimum reinforcement Fe 415 or less, conforming to IS 1786 of if of grade Fe 500 and Fe 550, that is high strength deformed steel. They have given the minimum elongation as 14.5%, conforming to IS 1786. Then proof stress. What is mean by proof stress? The stress strain curve showing a typical yield behavior of non-ferrous alloys, that may be steel, ferrous, or is shown here. You cannot find any definite yield points. The point 1 is true elastic point, point 2 is a proportionality limit, and point 3 is elastic limit, point 4 is offset of yield strength. So what you have to do, you have to draw a straight line at 0.2% of the elongation. So you will get this yield strength you will get. So proof stress, I want to give more clear information about the proof stress. The proof stress is measured by drawing a line parallel to the elastic portion. So this is the line drawn parallel to this elastic portion at a specified strain. So this is the specified strain. This strain being a percentage of original gauge length, hence 0.2% proof. That is what means, hence it is 0.2% proof and 1% proof. These are all there. So I want to give an example. So if gauge length is 100 mm, so if you are testing a specimen, so if you are testing a specimen here and our gauge length is 100 mm, then 0.2% of proof strength, that is equal to strength measured at 0.2 mm of permanent deformation. Your gauge length at that point shall be 100.2 mm. So that point, exactly what that then you can get this point. From this point, if you draw this same slope, you will get this proof strength. Then the ratio of actual ultimate strength by 0.2% of proof strength is equal to 1.125. Then in RC frame buildings, lintel beams not to be integrated into the columns to avoid short column effect. So when you are doing analysis, you should not consider these lintel beams. If you are considering, that has to be incorporated in the structural analysis. When integrated, they shall be included in the analytical model for structural analysis. Plinth beams and staircase beams and slabs framing into columns shall be included in the analytical model for structural analysis. So this is the plinth beam and this is the column. And when you consider this plinth beam for analysis, if you consider to avoid the short column effect, you have to consider the same plinth beam in the structural analysis, that is analysis model also. This is a lintel beam. This is a slab column connection effect. This is the columns and this is the slab which is connected here. So this is slab column connection. When you are designing a structure for slab column connection, that also has to be considered in the structural analysis level itself. So this is the column at different. This is the center of the portion, and here exterior columns. Then general specifications. RC regular moment resisting frame building shall have planar oriented along the two principal plane directions of buildings. Irregularities listed in IS 1893 shall be avoided. So what are all the irregularities? Mass irregularity, stiffness irregularity, vertical discontinuity irregularity, and many irregularities are there that we are going to see in the next slides. Buildings with any of the listed irregularities perform poorly during the earthquake shaking. In addition, buildings with floating columns. What is meant by floating column? Usually column starts from the foundation, right? Floating column starts from the beams. So beneath the beam, beneath the floating column, you have to construct a deep beam. So setback columns are these floating columns perform poorly in the earthquake. Sorry. When any such irregularities are adopted, detailed non-linear analysis shall be performed to demonstrate there is no threat to loss of life and property. My classmate Tamilarasi will clearly explain about this non-linear structural analysis of buildings. She is also presenting in this FDB program, so she will give more detailed explanation about this non-linear structural analysis. Then seismic zoning maps. The sectional committee, that is BIS sectional committee, has appreciated that there cannot be an entirely scientific basis for zoning in view of the scanty data, poor data available. So there are different zones were classified 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So most of the northeast states belongs to zone 5, and Tamil Nadu belongs to zone 2 or 3. Zone 2, mostly it's zone 2, and Gujarat and the place near Western Ghats, they come under zone 3 and 4. Maximum intensity at different places can be fixed on a scale only on the basis of the observations made and recorded after the earthquake, and thus a zoning map which is based on the maximum intensities arrived likely to lead in some cases in the incorrect solution in view of incorrectness in the assessment of intensities. Still there is a lot of research is going on in measuring the intensities of the earthquake, human error in the judgment during the damage survey, variations in quality and design of structures causing variation in type and extent of damage to the structures with the same intensity. Then there are, as I said earlier, there are different types of irregularity: stiffness irregularity, mass irregularity, vertical geometric irregularity, in-plane discontinuity, strength irregularity, floating and floating or stub columns, irregular modes in two principal planes. So when the stiffness of this lower story is K1 Ki, then if the first story is Ki plus 1, second story is Ki plus 2, and if the condition satisfy this Ki plus 1 is greater than Ki plus 2, or I plus 1 is greater than Ki, then it is called there is a stiffness irregularity. Then mass irregularity, Wi is greater than 1.5 times I plus 1, Wi is greater than 1.5 times Wi minus 1, then it is called mass irregularity. And here the vertical geometric irregularities, here if the length of this base of the building is L, then the irregular portion is A, then A is greater than 0.25 L, and for this portion, on the left side and right side irregularities are existing, and that A should be greater than 0.125 times of base of the building. And here you can find a different type of irregularity building. This kind of building is available in Chennai also. Whenever you go towards Tambaram, you can find one IT buildings looks like this. So here you can see the irregularity A should be greater than 0.1 times of L. So here if the top portion is L1 and the bottom portion is L2, L2 is greater than 0.125 times L1, then this vertical geometric irregularity L1 by L, this is L1, L2. Then in plane discontinuity in vertical elements, this is a shear wall. When it happens many times, you need a parking space, or you have your first floor will start from this end. So in those places, this kind of vertical or discontinuity, that's in shear wall discontinuity may occur. That is LW, L0 when it is greater than 0.2 LW, that is in plane discontinuity. Then strength irregularity, at the lower story is SI, and the first floor SI plus 1, SI plus 2 is second story. Then if SI1 plus 1 is less than SI plus 2 and SI is less than SI plus 1, then this type of irregularity is known as strength irregularities. Then detailing of beams and columns. So here first, the requirements of this section shall apply to beams resisting earthquake induced effects in which the factored axial compressive stress does not exceed 0.00 FCK. If your FCK is 20, 30, 20 MPa, that is M20, M30, M50, M60, M80, your factored axial compressive stress limit shall be 1.6 MPa, 2.4 MPa, 4 MPa, 4.8 MPa, 6.4 MPa respectively. So when it is less than this factored axial compressive stress, then you can claim that as beams in which the factored axial compressive stress exceeds 0.008 FCK shall be designed as columns and inclined members. Columns or inclined members or strut members. The code specified minimum. So if someone is asking you, so I think most of your faculties. So if you are a practicing engineer, some people may come and ask you, what sir, kindly check this. So first thing what you have to check, according to IS 13920, width to depth ratio of beams, that minimum width and maximum depth. So width to depth ratio should be less than or equal to 0.3. So this is a beam with width, depth is D, and width is equal to 0.3 times of depth. So here if your width is 150 mm, your maximum depth is 500 mm. So to avoid slenderness, the code has specified this criteria. Then width 200 mm means 665 mm, 250 mm 833 mm, 300 mm means 1000 mm. So approximately 3 times. The 350 mm means 1167 mm, 400 mm is 1300 and 33 mm, 450 mm, 1500 mm, width 500 mm is 1667 mm. So this is your maximum depth actually. So it should be less, your your selected the width and depth should be within the limit. So here the minimum width is 200 mm. So your first line is strike out. You can strike out this first line. So whatever the beams you have to provide, you are providing, it should be minimum width of 200 mm. Maximum depth should be 0.25 times clear span. So what is clear span and effective span? The center to center distance of the span is effective span. The clear span is the distance between the edges of these columns. So if your clear span is 1.5 meters, 2 meters, 3 meters, 4 meters, 5 meters, 6 meters, your maximum depth shall be 375 mm for 1.5 meters, 500 mm for 2 meters, 3 meters for 750 mm for 3 meters. These are all maximum depths. So 4 meters means, so mostly you encounter this level actually. So if your span is 3 meters, your maximum depth can be 750 mm. So if your span is 6 meters, maximum depth allowed can be 1500 mm. So what is the maximum width of the beam? This figure may looks like confusing, but I want to decode this figure. So here you can see the columns here. This is the column, and this column is tied with lateral ties. That is this is the lateral ties, and this is the closed tie. This is one closed tie, and this is also another closed tie. So width of the lateral dimensions were C1 and C2 were the width of the lateral dimensions. See, here you can see the transverse reinforcement. So these are all transverse reinforcement. This we can see, no, here these are all transverse reinforcement through the column to confine beam, longitudinal reinforcement passing outside the column core. So beams tension reinforcement, that is longitudinal reinforcement passing outside the concrete core, and width of the beam shall be less than or greater than minimum width of the beams is equal to C2 plus smaller of C2 or 0.75 C1. C2 is the width of this column plus C2, that is smaller of C2 or 0.75 C1. So this is the that is the plan view, and this is the elevation view, and this width is C2, and the other direction is C1, and the width is BW, that is width of the member shall be BW. And here you can see the these are all this is the tension reinforcement or longitudinal reinforcement of beams, and this is the longitudinal reinforcement of columns. This is the transverse reinforcement. This is the transverse reinforcement of I want to make it clear, 1 minute. This is the longitudinal reinforcement of columns. Reinforcement of columns. This is the longitudinal reinforcement of beams. Longitudinal reinforcement of beams. This is transverse reinforcement of columns. Transverse reinforcement of columns. This is transverse reinforcement of beams. Here open ties, could not able to mark anything. Here is open ties. Here you can see this is open ties. So this this is open ties or closed ties, you can say it is closed tie. So that we will come to, we will see in the next this one. So the transverse reinforcement for the width of the beam that exceeds the width of the column C2 shall be provided as shown here. So this is shown here throughout the beam span, including within the beam column joint. So this this complete portion is beam. So you can see the tension reinforcement. Okay. So this is the wide beam. This is the three-dimensional view of that wide beam. Here you can see the column. This is the column width, and this is the beam width, and the bar passes outside the column core. And this is the bar, this is joist and transverse beam. So here you can say this is the longitudinal direction of the column. This is the longitudinal direction of the column, and this is the transverse direction of the column. And here this is the longitudinal direction of the beam, and this is the transverse direction of the beam. Longitudinal reinforcement. Beam shall have at least two 12 mm diameter bars each at the top and bottom faces. So at the top and bottom faces, at least we should have two 12 mm diameter bars. The minimum steel reinforcement shall be 0.24 times square root of FCK divided by Fy. So you know the grade. This is FCK is the grade of concrete. FCK is the grade of concrete. Fy is the yield strength of the steel reinforcement. That is grade of steel. This is grade of steel. This is grade of concrete. The minimum steel reinforcement shall be 0.025. So how to calculate this percentage I'm showing in the next slide. So if your grade of concrete is 20 and your Fy is varying 415, 500 and 550 MPa, your minimum percentage of longitudinal reinforcement. What is the minimum longitudinal reinforcement? If this is your beam and the beam provided at the bottom is known as longitudinal reinforcement, the minimum percentage of reinforcement is increases. So you can see the minimum percentage of reinforcement, that is P minimum, and this is Fy, and if the P minimum is this is 415, and this is 500, and this is 550, and here it is 0.026, and here it is 0.0021, 0.0020. Here you can see it is decreasing actually. So these three values, if you notice, and here also if you notice these three values, it is decreasing, and here also you can see it is decreasing. So one conclusion you can arrive that by increasing the grade of the steel, the minimum tension reinforcement can be reduced. So this is the breadth and this is the depth. So then when the grade of the concrete increases, so this is your M20, this is your M30, and this is your M40, and your grade of steel is fixed. In that case, your minimum tension reinforcement is increasing. When the grade of concrete is increasing, your minimum tension reinforcement is increasing from 0.0026 to 0.0037. When the grade of steel is increasing, your minimum tension reinforcement requirement is decreasing. So that's what I want to say with this statement. Then if your breadth is 200 mm, so for example your breadth is 200 mm and your depth is 400 mm, depth is 400 mm, provided 4 bars of 12 mm diameter, 4 bars of 12 mm diameter. Your AST, your percentage of tension reinforcement, that is rho m is rho means reinforcement percentage, m means main reinforcement. So rho m is equal to AST, area of steel reinforcement in tension zone. So T means tension zone, B is breadth and D is depth. So your AST is equal to pi by 4 into D square. So that is equal to 452 mm square. So the unit is mm square, and this is mm, and this is mm, and it will be cancelled. And your percentage of reinforcement is 0.0056. If you sometimes it is mentioned in percentage also, that is 100 into AST divided by BD. So here we are mentioning in terms of ratio only. So your maximum ratio, maximum tension reinforcement ratio as per IS code is 0.025, and your minimum is 0.0026. So whether you are given your provided reinforcement is within the limits or not, that you have to check. So this is what you have to do every time for the all the beams. Then longitudinal reinforcement of beams. Longitudinal steel on bottom face of beam framing into column shall be at least half of the steel on its top face at the same section. So this is your column. This is your column and this is your beam. Just 1 minute. Listen. Oh, okay. The longitudinal steel on top. The longitudinal steel on bottom face of the beam. That is, here is the this is the bottom face. So this is the bottom face. The longitudinal reinforcement provided at the bottom face. So this is the reinforcement provided at the bottom face of a beam framing into a column. So this is the place framing into the column. So shall be at least half the steel of its top face. So 50% of the top reinforcement of the same section. So the bottom reinforcement should be at least 50% of the top reinforcement. So that's what this line is explaining. At exterior joints, the anchorage length calculation shall consider this bottom steel reinforcement steel, that is row bottom shall be minimum of 0.5, that is 50% of top reinforcement. So here you can see this is the longitudinal reinforcements of columns. This is the longitudinal reinforcement of beams. So the code is telling that the reinforcement which is the reinforcement framing into column shall be at least at least 50% of this the top reinforcement. So first you have to calculate the reinforcement percentage at the top and at the bottom, and you have to check whether it is above the criteria or not. So that you have to check actually to ensure the ductile behavior. Then longitudinal reinforcement of beams. The longitudinal steel in beams at any section at top or bottom face. So this is the top face or this is the bottom face. Top or bottom face at least 0.25 times the longitudinal steel provided at the top face of the beam at the face of the column. When the top longitudinal steel in the beams are at the two supporting column faces is different and the larger of the two shall be considered. So once again I'm repeating this: longitudinal steel in beams at any section. So this is the section at any section, like 1 this is the section at any section. On top or bottom face at least 0.25% of longitudinal steel provided at the top face of the beam at the face of the column. So what is the reinforcement providing here as longitudinal reinforcement? That should be 0.25 times at any section. It should be more than this rho m. So that's what they are saying here. Then anchorage length at an exterior joint, top and bottom bars of beam shall be provided with anchorage length beyond the inner face of the column equal to development length. So this is the development length plus 10d, 10 times the diameter of the bar. If the diameter of the bar is 12 mm, then your 10d is equal to 120 mm. Then minus allowance of bends. So what is allowance of bends? That we will see in the next slide. Then anchorage of longitudinal beam bars. Here the development length of bars LD is equal to 5, that is nominal diameter of the bar, into sigma s stress in bar at the section considered at design load. So stress in bar. So stress in bar means that is Fy, some alpha into xy. So that is a stress in bar at the section considered at design load. So if you take this stress strain diagram, your design load is your maximum design load is 0.87 Fy. So 0.87 Fy. So that is your sigma s. Then tau BD is the design bond stress given in 26.2.1.1. Notes that development length includes anchorage values of hoops in tension reinforcement, and for bars of sections other than circular, the development length should be sufficient to develop the stress in the bar beyond the bond. So as per design provision, the stress at this point is 0, but in real case it stress at this point is not equal to 0. That's why we are providing this anchorage length we are providing. So here you can see this is x. So this complete length is known as x. So that is equal to development length plus 10d minus the anchorage, the allowance for this bends. So that has to be provided as per IS 456/2000. Then the grade of, if the grade of concrete is M25, design bound stress is 1.2 MPa. For M25 it is 1.4 MPa, M30 it is 1.4 MPa, M35 it is 1.7 MPa, M40 and above it is 1.9 MPa. For FE 415 still, so throughout my lecture I always give some mathematical numbers to create to visualize the figures. What is mean by 8d, what is mean by 10d, then what is L by D ratio of 0.3. So that to visualize you, I'm giving a small examples here. So this is another example. LD is the development length of that is equal to 0.87 Fy divided by 4 into tau BD into pi. So we are getting 47 into 5. That is 47 into diameter of the bar. So for the given FE 415 and M20 grade of concrete. So M20 grade of concrete, tau BD is equal to 1.2 and FE 415, that is 0.87, FE 0.87 415. divided by 4 into 1.2, that is equal to 47.5. If the diameter of the bar is equal to 25 mm, then the development length is equal to 47 into 25, that is equal to 1175 mm. Anchorage length is equal to LD plus 10 into 25 minus allowance of bends. So this number, that is 47, this is the number. So this can be taken from these tables. This table is taken from Professor Menon's Design of Concrete Structures book. LD by 5 values are fully stressed bars in tension. Then for FE 415 and M20 grade of concrete is 47. For FE 415 and M20 grade is 40. For M30 it is 38, 35. So you can see it is decreasing with respect to the grade of concrete. At the same time, it is increasing with respect to the grade of steel. So LD, that is development length by 5, that is LD by 5, bars in tension. If it is in compression, you have to multiply this whole members into 0.8. So this is the diameter of the bar: 12 mm, 16 mm, 20 mm, 25 mm, 32 mm, 36 mm. LD in tension. So how much development length you have to provide? For diameter of 12 mm, you have to provide 564 mm. For 16 mm, 752 mm. For 20 mm, 940 mm, you have to provide LD. 25 mm bars, it is 1175. It's nearly 1.1 meters. For 32 mm, nearly 1.5 meters. 36 mm bars, 1.6 meters. In compression, same thing: 0.4 meters, 0.6 meters, 0.75 meters, 0.94 meters, 1.2 meters, and 1.3 meters. So then 90-degree bend. So if what is meant by 90-degree bend, 180-degree bend, and 135-degree bend. So if this is the bar, this is 0 degree, right? Then this is normal before bending the bars, and if you bend this bar, this is 90 degree, and this is 90 degree. This is 90 degree bend, and this is 180 degree bend. (180-degree bend), and this is 135-degree bend. So see the difference. So whenever it comes to stirrups, you have to bend like this, 135-degree bend. So if it is a 90-degree bend, your equivalent anchorage length shall be 8 into diameter, and if it is 180-degree bend, your equivalent average length is 16 into diameter of the bar. 5 is the diameter of the bar. Here splicing of longitudinal reinforcement. Here you can see so there is a mistake in this figure. Actually, this you cannot give splicing at a time for all the bars. So just to give an example, I have shown this figure. Actually, how it looks, I will be explaining in the coming slides. The hooks or links or transverse reinforcement should be provided very close to each other near the splicing, and the stirrups shall be placed little bit far away when it is beyond the splicing. So this is the development length L. So this is the reinforcement, and it may be cut off here, and it is taken another reinforcement. So if your length of the bar, if the length of the specimen, length of the or span of the beam is more than the length of the reinforcement, then you have to provide splicing. So where you have to provide splicing and how much you have to provide splicing, that you have to be very careful. So when it comes to when we are studying, means when we are student, this information may not be a very critical thing to it may not be a critical thing, but when it comes to site, these are all the very critical things to be assessed to ensure the ductile detailing. So your maximum width between these two spacing of links or stirrups shall be 150 mm. So in splicing, your line of action should be ensured. So this is the one reinforcement, and this is another reinforcement, and the maximum diameter of the bar is limited to 36 mm, and beyond that you cannot do splicing. You have to provide another type of method, that is anchorage or mechanical anchors or welded splicing you have to adopt, not the lap splicing. So the minimum spacing is 200 mm. Then this is the L. The slope should not be less than 1/6, and this is how the lap splicing is done. Then the spacing of these links means stirrups shall not exceed 150 mm. Lap length shall not be less than the development length of this is the lap length. So this is the lap length. It should not be less than the development length of the largest longitudinal reinforcement bar in tension. Lap spaces shall not be provided within a joint, that means beam column joint or any other joint, within a distance of 2D from the face of the column, where the likely shear failure may occur, within a quarter length of the beam adjoining the location where the flexural yielding may occur under earthquake effects, not more than 50% of area. Not more than 50% of area of steel bars on either top or bottom face shall be spliced at one section. So what is the explanation for this line is given in this next slide. So the 50% of area of steel bars. So maybe alternative bars. This is one bar, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the alternative bars at section, this is one section. In one section you can see only 2 bars are spliced, or only 1 bar is spliced. Here you can say only 2 bars are spliced. So that means 50% area of steel bars on either top or bottom face shall be spliced at one section. So all the bars cannot be spliced at a time. So this is not allowed for ductile detailing. So this is the line of action. So here also you can see, take any section here, only 2. This is section 1, and this is section 2, 2. Section 2, 2. Here only 2 splicing, 50% of bars were spliced, and here also only 50% of bars were spliced. So this is called a staggered lapping. Then mechanical couplers. Mechanical couplers conforming to IS 16172 shall be used when the longitudinal steel bars have to be continued for beam spans larger than manufacture lengths. The spacing within 2D. So what is the reason for 2D? I will explain in the coming slides. The splicing within 2D from the member face are likely where the yielding of reinforcement takes place. Where the yielding of reinforcement will likely to take place. So this is the beam of simply supported beam. Here the tension reinforcement shall be provided, right? Where likely yielding will happen at the midspan, where the shear failure is likely to happen near the support. So that's what code is telling at these places. This is 2D, and this is likely yielding to takes place, and here is 2D. So that's what code is telling, that splicing within these places is not accepted. Then easy flow of concrete should be ensured. So here you can see that some additional the diameter of the bars may be 12 mm, 12 or 20, 12, 16 or 20 mm, whatever it may be. Here additional diameter is the diameter is increasing because of this mechanical couplers. So free flow of concrete. The concrete should flow freely within this provided spacing. So you have to adapt, either you can adapt self-compacting concrete or flow pumpable or flowable concrete. So this is the welded splice. So how it looks. So the at anywhere the line of action should not be missed. So here you can see a nice draw a straight line. This will be the maintained line of action is maintained. So that's why this bend is provided. This bend minimum 1/6 slope is adopted to maintain this. 1/6 slope is maintained to and it's adopted to maintain the line of action. Most of the time, what they will do, they do a mistake that they will they will do the welding just like this. So the line of action misses. So this is the this is a wrong detailing. Then welded splicing. Welded splices shall not be used in beams for a distance equal to 2 times the depth of whatever it may be the splicing, whether it is welded or couplers or welded couplers or lap splicing shall not be used in beams for a distance of 2D, 2 times the depth of the member from the member face or in any location where yielding of reinforcement is likely to take place. At any location, not more than 50% of area of steel bar shall be spliced at any one section, and welding of links, ties, inserts, and other similar elements. Links, actually a transverse reinforcement. Stirrups can be named, stirrups or ties can be named as any of these things. Links, ties, similar element, the transverse reinforcement or vertical reinforcement, web reinforcement, it can be named in any one of these things. Based on the member, we can tell what it is required as per design in welding of links, ties, inserts, or other similar elements to vertical reinforcement bars required as per design is not permitted in any seismic zone. So this is the beam, simply supported beam loaded. This is a spread beam loaded at 2 points. You can see a nice fluxural cracks are appearing in the beams. This is the constant moment region, and this is constant moment region. Constant moment region. This is the shear span. This shear span. So the code is telling that splicing may be adapted in this constant moment region and in the shear span region, that is shear critical region, that is 2D from the face of this span. So it can be somewhere in between. Here you can provide the splicing. So this is a shear failure occurs here. To avoid this shear failure, we are providing the stirrups just like this. So the cracks may travel like this. So this is the column face. This is the column face. When the column face 2D, your splicing shall be avoided. Then transverse reinforcement. In normal practice, a link is made up of single bent bar. So that means single bent bar means one long bar we will take and that we will bend like this. So this is single bend bar, but it may be made of 2 bars also, likely U-link with a 135-degree hook. As I explained earlier, this is your 135-degree hook. (135°). This is 90-degree bend. This is 90-degree bend, and this is 180-degree bend. This is 180-degree bend. So this is 135-degree hook with an extension of 6D at each end embedded in the concrete core, not less than 65 mm. So minimum you have to provide 65 mm from this point. So if this is your hook, if this is your hook, from this point onwards, minimum 65 mm you have to provide 65 mm. So hence the reinforcement will go deep into the concrete core. Either it may be a beam or column, it will go into the core. The hooks of these links and cross ties. So what is meant the cross ties? So this is link. This is link or stirrups or ties, stirrups or ties or web reinforcement, vertical web reinforcement, vertical web reinforcement. If it is column, then it can be mentioned in any one of these names. Here horizontal web reinforcement, whatever it may be. So the hooks or the cross ties. The cross ties means it looks like this. It is not the completely closed one. On the one end it will be open, so completely it is open, just it gives integral action shall engage around the peripheral longitudinal bars. The consecutive cross ties engaging the same longitudinal bars shall have their 90-degree hooks on opposite side of the beam. So if this is your beam, and you have to provide this cross ties on opposite direction. And another one, this is the cross ties has to be provided here like this. So here you can see the first cross tie. There is no cross tie here. Actually, stirrups itself they are provided in the opposite directions. If you are providing any cross tie, it has first this open section should come like this, and second one will be provided like this. So you can see the difference, right? The first one, the hooks are coming at this point, and for the second one the hooks are coming on the other side, and for third one the hooks are coming here, for the fourth one hooks are coming here, and the fifth one. So alternatively it varies. So these things has to be checked clearly. So I got this figure from internet. They are also not provided properly. You can see it has to be clearly bent deep into the core. It cannot be kept just like that. But they have given nice correctly that alternatively they have given the hooks. So this is the cross tie. So this cross tie has to be first cross tie it will be looks like this, and the second one you have to give like this. Third one again same repetition. So it goes like that. So transverse reinforcement means, as I told earlier, it can be named as stirrups. So this is the transverse reinforcement. This is a transverse reinforcement, or links, or stirrups, or vertical web reinforcement, whatever it may be. Only vertical links shall be used in beams. Inclined links shall not be used. When the longitudinal reinforcement bars are secured by cross ties in beams that have slabs on one side, 90-degree hooks shall be placed on that side. This is the 90-degree hook. Okay, so there are two hooks, right? In cross ties, there you have two. This one 90-degree. One is 90-degree hook, and another one is 135-degree hook. This is 90-degree hook, 90-degree hook, and this is 135-degree hook. If some places you will encounter slab and columns like this, slabs and beams like this, in those cases reinforcements, if there is a need for providing cross ties, so the cross ties shall be placed on that side. 90-degree hooks of cross placed on that side. How to place like this. So types of shear reinforcement. This is vertical stirrups vertical stirrups, inclined stirrups, then bend of bars. So code is suggesting that only vertical stirrups are allowed to use, and code is not recommending to use the bent up bars or inclined stirrups. Then shear force of beams under plastic hinges. So if there is a formation of plastic hinge at the supports, then what we have to what we have to consider is how to enhance the shear force. The minimum diameter of the stirrups or link shall be 8 mm. Shear force capacity of the beam shall be more than larger of factored shear force as per linear structural analysis, and then factored gravity shear force plus equilibrium shear force when the plastic hinges are formed at both ends of the beam. So here you can see the moment at point A and moment at point B, then sway right and this is sway left. So in those cases, for sway right, the shear force shall be shear force induced by dead load and live load, and shear force induced by the sway. That is plus 1.4 and minus 1.4 mu moment play at point A and B divided by length of the member LAB. So sway right, so same thing, it reverses minus plus A and B for this way, right and left. The shear force is calculated, and accordingly you have to provide the shear reinforcement. So the code is giving a slight modification for the calculation of shear force, and for this shear force you have to provide the reinforcement. Then in the calculation of design shear force capacity of RC beams, contributions to the beams, contributions of the following shall not be considered: bent up bars, as I said earlier, bent up bars, inclined links, concrete in the RC section, spacing of close spacing of links, spacing of links over the length of 2D at either end of the beam shall not exceed D by 4, 8D or 100 mm. First link shall be at a distance of not exceeding 50 mm from the face of the joint. So if this is your column, this is your beam, your first link, this is your first link, right? This is your column, this is your beam. Your first link should not be more than 50 mm. So maximum this 50 mm. So many PhD scholars may do this kind of work on beam column joints, or in deep beam shear critical elements. They may have the confusion near the support, from where I have to start, at the support or near the support, where I have to start the detailing. So they PhD scholars, they always confuse. So here is the point: within from the support, within the distance of 50 mm, you have to provide the first you have to provide the first stirrup. So spacing also given 8 by 4, 8 by D, 8D or 100 mm. So the closely spaced link shall be provided over the length equal to 2D on either side of the section, where flexural yielding may occur under the earthquake effects. Over the remaining length of the beam, the vertical link shall be provided at a spacing provided at a spacing not exceeding D by 2. So a complete beam detailing is given in this figure. So this is a figure reproduced from IS 1392/2016. So here you can see the first stirrup. So first stirrup should be provided within a spacing of 50 mm, and within a distance of 2D you should not provide any splicing, either from this face or that face. At this is column faces, right? This is a column face. Column face. On this column face 2D and this is also column face. 2D, you should not provide any splicing. Then hoop spacing should not be less than d by 2. Then hoop spacing is d by 4, 8 dB or 100 mm. So here you can find very close spacing, maybe say 100 mm. But here you are finding that little bit wider spacing, that is 150 mm. Here you can see, again you can see this is, so I'm giving just example. This is 100 mm. Again you can see it is 100 mm. From this point it is 50 mm. This is 100 mm. So if dB is 12 mm, then 8 dB is 96 mm. So if your diameter of this bar is 8 dB is 96 mm, and if your depth means d is the depth of the specimen, depth of the beam. D is the depth of the beam. Depth of the beam. The beam is depth of the beam. Then d by 4 is equal to 67.5 mm, and another one is 100 mm. Maximum of these three. So maximum of these three is 100 mm. So if it is a minimum of this, minimum is 67.5 mm. So you can see this. That's why this this is how the reinforcement of beams looks like. So this is a column, and this is a longitudinal reinforcement, and this is the anchorage length. So I given 47 into 5. If you Fe 4 and 5 and M20 grade of concrete, your anchorage length or development length shall be 47 into diameter of the bar. So column and inclined members. For columns and inclined members resisting earthquake-induced effects, the factored axial compressive stress due to gravity and earthquake effect exceeds 0.008 FCK. The factored axial compressive stress limit, including all load combinations of earthquake effects, shall be 0.4 FCK. T and X-shaped columns need special detailing with the latest literatures. Then minimum column width. Minimum dimension of a column shall not be less than 20 in the dB. In IS 13920, there is a confusion in this section. They have, in the running test, they have given us 20 dB. In the picture, they have given us 15 dB. So you can consider as a conservative side, you can take 20 dB. And dB is the diameter of the largest diameter longitudinal reinforcement bar in the beam passing through or anchoring into the column at the joint. If dB equal to 25 mm, that is 25 mm diameter bar, then 20 dB is equal to 500 mm, your minimum column based on the longitudinal reinforcement. So if this is your column, so your column width is defined based on the longitudinal reinforcement of the beam. So this is the longitudinal reinforcement of the beam, that is dB. Based on this dB, your minimum column width is decided. So if your dB is equal to 25 mm, then 20 dB is equal to 500 mm. So this is 500 mm or 300 mm. So whichever its minimum of these two can be the minimum dimension of the column. So of course these cases arise when your load level is very low, so you have to provide this minimum dimension of the column. Then the cross section, that is the cross section of columns, that is aspect ratio. Smaller dimension by larger dimension must be greater than or equal to 0.45. For example, if B is equal to 300 mm and D equal to 500 mm, smaller dimension by larger dimension is equal to 0.6. So for 300 mm width column, maximum depth shall be 665 mm. So minimum size of the RC columns based on the diameter of bars in beam. So this is the point I mentioned here. In the running text, they have mentioned it is 20 dB, and here they mentioned it is 15 dB. So this is a minimum column width. So this is the column width. This is the column width, and the minimum column width is given here based on the reinforcement. Means either passing it or means entering into the column. Relative strengths of beam and columns at a joint, that is strong column, weak beam concept. How do they ensure a strong column and weak beam concept, that we are going to see in the next upcoming slides. At each beam column joint of a moment resisting frame, the sum of nominal design strength of columns meeting at that joint with the nominal strength calculated for the factored axial load in the direction of the lateral force under consideration, so as to give least column nominal design strength along each principal plane shall be at least 1.4 times sum of nominal design strength of beams meeting at that joint in the same plane. So here you can see there are four moments, right? This is column, this is beam. So the moment here also so this is a cut section, right? So it's a continuation. So here also moments will come. So this is coming in this direction, or it will be going here. So this is the cut section here. So this is your MCT, that is moment of the column in top section, and moment of the column in bottom section. This MCT, MCB. So moment measured at beam, that is moment of resistance of beam, on the right side, moment of resistance of the beam at the left side. See, this sum of moments of the columns, that MCT plus MCB, that should be higher than 1.4 times MBR plus MBL. So here you can understand, right? So your column strength is 40% higher than the beam strength. So that's why strong column, weak beam. So first moment or hinges or failure should occur in the beam, then followed by columns. So that's what this strong column, weak beam concept is introduced. So here also same, the same thing is here. MCT plus MCB, that is less than or equal to MBR plus MBL. So in this case, this is the exterior column, right? So MCT plus MCB, that is also the condition remains same, 1.4 times MB. There is no left right, only one moment of resistance. That is MB is moment of resistance of beams. Moment of resistance of beams. Resistance of beams. MCT is moment of resistance of columns. Moment of resistance of columns. So in the event of beam column joint not conforming to above, the columns at the joint shall be considered to be gravity columns and shall not be considered as part of the lateral load resisting system. Moment of resistance of beams and columns shall be calculated as per IS 456. There is no special provision is given to establish the moment of resistance in this IS 13920. The check shall be performed at each joint for both positive and negative directions of shaking in the planes. Relative strength of beams and columns at a joint. Design moments of resistance of beams meeting at the joint shall be considered in the same direction, and similarly the same moments of resistance of columns at the same joint shall be considered to be in the direction opposite to that of the moments in the beams. The check shall be waived for all the joints at roof level only. in buildings more than four stories tall. Strong column, weak beam concept will not applicable for flat slab structures because the concept is slab column connection. There is no beam column connection. Then column longitudinal reinforcement. Circular columns shall have minimum of 6 bars. Splicing of longitudinal bars, as like beams, the concept remains same. Lap splices, when adopted, closed links shall be provided over the entire length of the column which longitudinal bars are spliced. The spacing of these links, that is horizontal ties or ties, shall not exceed 100 mm. Then lap length shall not be less than the development length of largest longitudinal reinforcement bar in tension. Lap splices shall be provided only in the central half or clear column height and not within the joint within a distance of 2D from the face of the beam. So here also you can see the nice lapping zone, then regular stirrups and close spacing stirrups are given here, and not more than 50% of area of steel. The condition for splicing is common for beams and columns. 50% of area of steel shall be spliced at one section. Lap splices shall not be used for bars of diameter larger than 32 mm. So when you use bars of diameter size more than 32 mm, you have to go for mechanical splicing or welded splicing. Mechanical coupler splicing conform to the standard IS 16170 and capable of developing the specified tensile strength of specified bar shall be permitted within a distance equal to or 2 times the depth of the member from the column face in any location where the yielding of reinforcement is likely to take place. And welded splices also follows the same condition. So what earlier we have seen the lap splicing, mechanical couplers and welded splicing of beams. Now we are seeing lap splicing, mechanical couplers and welded splicing of columns. Welded splices shall not be used in columns for a distance equal to 2 times the depth of the member from the member face or in any location where yielding of reinforcement is likely to take place. Whether it is column or beam, this point remains constant. At any location, not more than 50% of area of steel bar shall be spliced at any one location. This is also common. But welding of links, ties, insets, or other similar elements to vertical reinforcement bars are required as per design is not permitted in any seismic zone. That is also common for all the splicing. So here one more point: the column that extends more than 100 mm beyond the confined core. So this is the core actually. So this is the core region. From this point to this point, that is including stirrups, you call this as a core concrete core column. From this point, this is also known as concrete core, column concrete core. So if the column that extends more than 100 mm beyond the confined core, owing to architectural requirements, some places the architectures may ask us to give some projections. So in those cases, architectural detail in the following manner: when the contribution of this area is considered in the estimate of strength of columns, it shall have at least a minimum longitudinal and transverse reinforcement. When the contribution of this area is not considered in the estimate of strength of columns, it shall have at least minimum longitudinal and transverse reinforcement given here. So these places we have to in these projections. So sometimes these ducts may be provided for architectural purpose or for providing some pipes. So in those cases, you have to provide at least a minimum tension longitudinal reinforcement and one transverse reinforcement should be provided. So how the transverse reinforcement is provided? This is a closed ties. On the either side, you have to keep the 135-degree hooks. It's not like open tie. It's a closed ties. Then for columns of concrete core less than or equal to 300 mm, you can provide the ties like this. And for columns above 300 mm concrete core, you have to provide a cross tie like this. So this is a cross tie. How it looks, you can see on the both sides 135-degree hooks, and here also you can see the stirrups are provided like this. So this is 1 and this is 2. Here you can see this is number 1 and this is number 2. Here only 1 and this is 1. This is the diameter of the bar. Your minimum anchorage means to ensure that stirrups are anchored into the core, you have to provide 60 or minimum of 65 mm. So how this bar should be inserted? This connection is detailed here. The stirrups should come into this, and over beyond this it should come. It should connect everything. You can see here the first bar, that is longitudinal bars are connected, stirrups are connected, and the cross tie is connecting the stirrups, and that is transverse reinforcement and the longitudinal reinforcement. And here the both sides you are providing the transverse reinforcement. So here you can see this is a stirrups, and this is cross ties were given. One end is 90-degree cross tie, and another end is 135-degree hooks are provided, and alternatively 135-degree hooks are provided, and the minimum dimensions are shown given here. The transverse reinforcement shall consist of closed loops, spiral or circular links in circular columns, rectangular links in rectangular columns. In either case, the closed link shall have 135-degree hook ends with extension of 60 or not less than 65 mm at each end, which are embedded in the confined core of the column. Then rectangular links, the minimum diameter permitted of transverse reinforcement is 8 mm, and diameter of longitudinal bars is less than or equal to 32 mm. So there are two conditions: less than 32 mm diameter bars, minimum transverse reinforcement is 8 mm. More than 32 mm diameter bars, your minimum transverse reinforcement is 10 mm. The maximum spacing of parallel legs of links shall be 300 mm center to center. Cross ties shall be provided if the length of any side of the link exceeds 300 mm. Cross tie shall be placed perpendicular to this link whose length exceeds 300 mm. So you can see when the cross ties are provided, when the HC is exceeding 300 mm. So this is 300 mm. This is exceeding 300 mm. So sorry, 300. This is cross ties. Cross ties are provided when the stirrups exceeding 300 mm. Then design shear force in columns. The design shear force demand on columns is the larger of factored shear force demand as per linear structural analysis. Factored equilibrium shear force demand when the plastic hinges are formed at both ends of the beam. The moment of this at the end A and B, MUA and MUB, and your when it sway right and sway left, VU shear forces shall be V equal to 1.4 times MUA plus MUB divided by HST. The equilibrium design shear force of columns, the design moments of resistance of beam sections shall be calculated as per IS 456. The calculation of design shear force capacity of RC columns shall be calculated. Both columns and beams shall be calculated as per IS 456. And special confining reinforcement. Special confining reinforcement is provided when the larger amount of transverse reinforcement is required from the shear strength consideration. So the special confining reinforcement means some additional reinforcement you are providing to ensure that there is no likely shear failure. Um, so flexural yielding is likely in beams during the strong earthquake shaking and in columns when the shaking intensity exceeds the expected intensity of the earthquake shaking. So here length L0 provided, that is special confining reinforcement is provided for the length L0. So this is in this region there is a special confining reinforcement SCR. Here also you are providing special confining reinforcement. Here also you are providing for L0. Here also special confining reinforcement. Here also special confining reinforcement. Here also special confining reinforcement. So in these places, so you can see the difference. The spacing between the stirrups is closer than the spacing between this region. So this is the special confining region. So this is the special confining region. Here also the special confining region. So now the L0 is not less than the larger lateral dimension of the member at the section where yielding occurs 1/6 of the clear span of the member or 450 mm. Then have a splicing not more than, so where the splicing there also you have to again, so, you cannot give, so we have studied, right? So likely shear failure may occur here, right? Here the shear failure may occur, here also shear failure may occur, and here flexural failure may occur here. So what splice, where you are providing splicing? So on these regions you cannot provide splicing. So 1/4 of minimum member dimension of the beam or column, 6 times the diameter of the smallest longitudinal reinforcement bars, or 100 mm. So here also near the splicing, when you are providing splicing, your link should be as close as possible. When it is near the column face or beam face, there also spacing is as close as possible. So confined joint with beams framing into 4 sides of confining reinforcement as per 8.2. The area have area of ASH of cross section of bar forming links or spiral or of at least. Then for circular rings, ASH is maximum of 0.09 SV DK FCK by Fy AG divided by AK minus 1, 0.024 SV DK FCK divided by Fy. FCK is characteristic compressive strength of concrete cube. Fy is 0.2% of proof strength of transverse steel of reinforcement. AG is the cross-sectional area of columns. AK is the concrete core of column. DK is the diameter of the concrete core. Here for rectangular sections, H is the longer dimension of rectangular link measured to its outer face, which does not exceed 300 mm. AK is the area of confined concrete core in rectangular link measured at its outer dimensions. Then special confinement footing near the footing. So near from this face, so there is a chance of what is called punching shear failure. It may fail like this, right? Cracks may come like this. That's why special confining reinforcement is provided. Special confinement means close space links. So that is called special confinement. So when the column terminates into a footing or mat, special confining reinforcement shall not exceed 300 mm into the footing or mat. So this is the up to 300 mm you have to provide the special confining reinforcement. When the calculated point of contrafracture means change of moment under the effect of gravity and earthquake effects is not within the middle half of the member clear height, and special confining reinforcement shall be provided over the full height of the column. The special confining reinforcement shall be provided over the full height of the column, which has significant variation in stiffness along the height. So if you provide too much of stirrups throughout the height of the throughout the height of the column, then definitely its stiffness will vary. That in one column you are not providing like special confinement reinforcement throughout the column, and another one you are giving, so definitely your stiffness will drastically vary. So this variation in stiffness may result in due to abrupt changes in cross section of size or unintended restraint. So intended, unintended means edarchiyaga, means unintentional. We don't know even. So unintended restraint to the column provided by the stair slab, mezzanine floor, plinth or lintel beams framing into the columns, RC wall or masonry wall adjoining the column and extending only for the partial column height. So again, special confinement reinforcement columns with variable stiffness actually. For the development length, for a length, this is the development length of the longitudinal bar. So here you are providing the additional special confining reinforcement. Column supporting reactions from the discontinued stiff members. So what is in the discontinuity? So this is the wall. So this is the wall, and here is the discontinuity. Why X mark is given? To show it is discontinuous. The wall is discontinuous. So long back in the first few slides we have seen about the irregularity. So this is also a kind of irregularity. Column supporting reactions from any questions, or we can answer the questions after the presentation also. Is it okay? Dheeraj Ahiwale. Okay, I'm continuing. Column supporting reactions from discontinued stiff members such as wall shall be provided with a special confining reinforcement their full height. The reinforcement shall also be placed above discontinuity for at least the development length of the largest longitudinal bar of the column, where the column is supported on a wall with this reinforcement height of the column. It also be provided below the discontinuity for the wall of same development length. Then case study of secant pile retaining wall. Just 1 minute. Just So in this case study, actually we have designed a secant pile retaining wall for Kerala State Electricity Board in Munnar. They have we have to deliver our design as early as possible. They are given just only 10 days to give our design, and just within we received on February 2018, and within few days the same content is published in newspaper actually. So which is shocking for us. So what are all the comments they have given? Intake well was collapsed in 2018, tunnel was collapsed in 2011, and they have questioned about the capability of KSEB and deep excavations. So to go into the detailing part, I have to explain the concepts. I have to explain the means preliminary why we need the secant pile and how we detailed it. Before that, I have to give that's why I need to give an explanation about this. Deep excavations are common for tunnel, intake well, and box culvert constructions in urban areas nearby existing structures and water bodies. Secant pile walls are constructed by line of overlapping piles arranged sequentially and plain and reinforced concrete pile. So this is primary pile. That is our it's non plain concrete piles. This is secondary pile, also known as reinforced concrete piles. A typical design model of secant pile wall to be constructed is designed by CSIR NIST, and this is a secant pile wall. Secant pile is a temporary retaining structure which is primary piles are installed first and the secondary piles are constructed in between the primary piles. So this is the primary pile, and the secondary piles was constructed in between the primary piles. So there is a secant shape comes into the picture, and due to arch action it retains the soil. Installed first and secondary piles are constructed in between the primary piles. Plain concrete primary piles are intersected by reinforced concrete and secondary piles. Design and analysis of 800 mm diameter secant pile with capping beam of 21 meter deep excavation. Design and analysis of 3 layers of strutting and water beam for excavation up to 15.5 meter deep at intake pool area and box culvert region from ground. And so this is the river, and the depth of the river is 7 meters, and excavation is done up to 21 meters. The loads considered were dead load, earth pressure, earthquake load, water pressure. And discrepancies encountered. Yielding of reinforcement at various stages of loading was unknown. Then shear and flexural strength expressions are developed based on rectangular beams, and data which needs to be modified or verified. Then size effect needs to be incorporated in the shear and flexural strength expressions. Then no consensus about whether to design the piles as individual circular member subjected to lateral load or single unit as retaining wall. No design procedure is developed till date to design the secant pile as single unit wall. Shear behavior of primary piles which intersecting reinforced concrete piles are not clearly studied. So this is the Munnar site, and this is the Madapula River, and they are trying to divert this river at this location. Here the deep excavation to be done. First they have done the road diversion, so that work will be completed at this section first. Then the road will be diverted here, and the intake pool will be constructed followed by this. So this is what the plan. This area belongs to Tata Tea House, and this area belongs to NHAI. So nobody is ready to give even 1 inch of land also. So we are forced to have a strong struts. Even though all are gone, of course this is private agency. Even though it is government agency, central government is not ready to. Sorry, you cannot say it is like that. So NHAI is not ready to give the land for intake pool area. So they decided to construct this intake pool area near this zone. So this is how the intake pool, the water comes here and enters here, and then it goes into the box culvert region, and then it enters into the tunnel. And the backside of the on the backside of this hilly region, there is a tunnel of height of length more than 10 meters, I think. My objective is to give the solution for this. They were stuck because too many times the secant pile wall is a special type of work, and that cannot be performed without understanding the literatures on the on that area. And then this is the box culvert region. The total height of the excavation is 21 meters, and this is the box culvert region. 3 levels of strutting was planned. Actually, 4 level. Initially, it was planned as 4 level of strutting, so that this secant pile will not collapse into this. The spacing between these two, earlier it was fixed was 10 meters. Then they changed to 7 meters. Even then, the whatever we designed, we just followed that. This is a box culvert region, secant pile wall. It's analyzed in StatPro. This is the intake pool region, and this way water enters. This is a maximum deflection of a pile, maximum bending moment, and maximum shear force can be calculated along there. file and design of piles, grade of concrete M35, grade of steel F500. Then loading data was given, maximum bending moment, and at the top, and what is this maximum shear force, and for that the reinforcement and diameter of the bars were arrived. Next, coming to the picture, design of pile cap beam. So in other cases, you always design the beam for the vertical direction, but in this case you have to design the beam for the horizontal direction. So this is a pile give the diameter of the beam, the grade of the concrete, grade of the steel, then the breadth and depth of the beams are given, assumed, and for the given ultimate load moments, and the cross sections were designed. Then the reinforcements were detailed. So this is the concrete cover was provided. Ductile detailing was planned according to IS 13920. Close spacings were provided, and splicings were provided not provided in the critical sections. Not when the splicings were not provided near the strut zones. And here you can see the 16 bars of 16 mm diameter bars provided at 125 mm spacing, and the inner ring, that is supporting ring, was 16 mm diameter bar was provided of spacing of 1.5 meters. Then longitudinal reinforcement is provided as 13 bars of 32 mm diameter bar plus 13 bars of 32 mm diameter bars. Two bars were provided. Then, as I said earlier, the beams here in secant pile wall, the line of action is not in the vertical direction, it is in the horizontal direction. So the main bars are provided, 6 bars of 20 mm diameter, 4 bars of 16 mm diameters are provided at the top and side faces, not on the top faces. Steps are provided, 8 bars of 100 mm spacing was provided. This is the pile cap, and this is the reinforcement detailing. And additional special care was provided at the strutting places. This is a concrete cover. So this is how the layout of the secant pile wall, and this is a strut. Struts were provided at 3 layers at 1.5 meter level, 4.5 meter level, and 7.5 meter level. Then waller beams were provided to distribute the load. So this is the typical figure after excavation of soils. So this is a secant piles, and this is the waller beam. This is a strut beam. Additional struts were provided near the side faces, and to ensure there is no stress concentration corners, additional piles were drilled. And this is how the plates were anchored into the piles. And this is the details of king post. The span is too much, right? For this box culvert, you need for box culvert, a king post is not required. In the case of secant pile wall, it's intake pool. Additional king post columns are needed to reduce this the span actually. So sequence of, actually this is little bit deviated from the topic ductile detailing, but still when I'm giving a case study, I have to give this information also. That's why I'm giving few slides about this construction sequence. First, drilling, reinforcement caging, concrete pouring, pile capping, then box culvert region, intake pool region, demolition of secant pile at intake pool region. So this is how drilling work is done. Then you have to put the caging. What is the density of concrete? 2,400 kilogram per meter cube. What is the density of bentonite powder? Bentonite powder is less than nearly 1,000 kg per meter cube. So we have to pour the bentonite slurry into the pile wall, then so that there is no collapse. It ensures there is no collapse. Then we will place the Termi pipe into this piles. Then we will pour the concrete, so that once so when you pour the water inside the oil, water will settle at the bottom and automatically oil will come out, right? So that is the concept here. When you pour the first you pour the bentonite slurry, over which we will pour the concrete. So automatically the bentonite slurry will come out. And what is the beauty of this bentonite slurry? Again and again and again we can reuse it. We for our whole construction process we used only one mixture of bentonite slurry. So this may be a company secret, you should not tell to others, but still as a clue I am giving to others also to use this bentonite slurry. Again and again it can be used. So where was the first mistake? KSEB, where they did the first mistake was they in the drilling they have done a mistake that they have gone like first three, fifth drilling like that they have gone. It should not be gone like that. 1, 10, 20, 30 first drilling, second drilling, first, fifth, then 10th, 5th, 15th, 25th has to be drilled. Then first, third, then the second, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 6, like that. This is the sequence of drilling. If you miss this drilling, definitely it is going to collapse, no doubt. So this is the trick behind this secant pile drilling. Then spacing of stirrups, and here you can see the welding, and the hooks were nicely 135. I again and again I ensured. I went there and stayed there for nearly 25 days, and I ensured that they are doing that ductile detailing. So this is how this staggered lapping were done. Then the reinforcement cagings were pulled up and this entered down. Then termi pipes were inserted. Concrete was poured. This is the bentonite slurry poured. Then concreting was done. Then this is a pile cap for which this pile cap was done. Then we started the excavation. Once the up to 6, 7, some 3, 1.5 meter itself, we started. Once it is done, we have done the marking, and in that marking, waller beams were placed. This is called waller beam, and once waller beams are placed, we have done this beams were fabricated, and finally excavation was done. So hopefully within a short span of time, this unit will come into the functioning. This is 30 into 260 megawatt hydroelectric power station in Munnar. Even now also, if you go, you can see this what is that? This hydroelectric power unit. So any questions? Oh, thank you. Many of you have given the comments. Sedu Madhav, excellent sir. Thank you. Mr. Ravindra, very nice informative sessions. Thank you, and very nice presentation. Thank you. Very informative case study. Thank you very much. All of you go and see one time that still it is running. Not yet completed, but still for educational purpose they will allow. I'm not sure whether they are allowing or not, but for definitely for educational purpose they will allow. Whenever you go Munnar, visit this. It's a very challenging work that KSEB has taken it up, and we are also helped the Kerala State Electricity Board people. They are also very helpful. Really, they have done a nice work. Partial implementation, practical implementation is very difficult. Yes, definitely this secant pile work is very tough. Definitely, yes. Informative session, very informative case study. Thank you very much. Shubhashni Madekar, Ranjit Barua, Setu Madhav, Dipti Nair, all of you, I thank you very much for your kind feedback on that. Okay, any more questions? Actually, I was planning to give one more building example also, G+5. So due to time restriction, already this is 123 slides. It will be beyond. I cannot complete on time, so I've done my. Any more points to be explained? Email ID, yes. Leon Raj, if you type, you will get anywhere. In all social media, I'm active, so no problem. If you type Leon Raj, you will get all my information. In Google, if you type Leon Raj, you will get all my information, like what the latest papers, books, YouTube lectures, whatever it may be. It is available in. It is available. Kasargod is far away from Munnar, right? So
Yes,
when you,
yes, Kasargod is a bit far from Munnar.
okay.
Near to Mangalore.
Oh, very far.
Yeah. The
Okay.
Kerala Karnataka border, Leon.
Okay.
So, if there are no questions, I think we can wind up the session. Professor Shruti, can you please
Yes,
take the
ma'am.
vote of
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, all. That was a very informative session. It was full of knowledge and interesting things. Detailed explanation were given with case studies, which may help in our research areas. So, on behalf of the coordinators and the participants, I am thanking you, sir, for this session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Leon.
Yes, thank you for. I also thank principal, management, administration of LSB College, and my teachers, Binamol ma'am and Prakash sir. With this, I conclude this session. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. You may please leave the session. Dear participants, tomorrow, there will be 3 sessions tomorrow. The first session will start at 9 a.m. The links have already been shared. We'll be sharing it again in the WhatsApp group. Please note that 80% attendance is a mandatory requirement for getting the certificate of AICT. So thank you all. We'll meet again tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you.